In this video, posted only hours ago to Instagram, Savannah put together a collage of photos and videos of her mom with her family, including her children and grandchildren. And Savannah wrote this message: Mother, daughter, sister, Noni, we miss you with every breath. We will never stop looking for you. We will never be at peace until we find you. We need help. Someone knows something that can make the difference. Call 1-800-CALL-FBI. You can be anonymous. And Savannah says that reward remains available. Please keep praying, she says. Bring her home.
For 11 weeks, the official story held. For 11 weeks, Sheriff Raymond Nanos stood behind a podium in Pima County and told the family of Nancy Guthrie, told the public, that there were no leads, no evidence, no suspects, that this was simply a tragedy. That was a lie. Savannah Guthrie is Nancy's eldest daughter. She spent 2 decades covering stories for other people's families. She interviewed presidents. She survived boardrooms. She understood how information moves, and more importantly, how it gets buried. When her mother disappeared, she didn't wait for Nanos. She dismantled him. What Savannah built over the next 11 weeks wasn't a grief project. It was a prosecution. Methodical. Documented. Ruthless. And at the center of it, 2 names. Annie Guthrie. Savannah's own sister. Tommaso Sioni. Annie's partner of 3 years. Both lawyered up within 72 hours of Nancy's disappearance. Both refused to cooperate with independent investigators. Both constructed what they called an airtight alibi, a 14-hour window of claimed absence from the family home. Airtight. Until it wasn't. Because a private digital extraction team hired by Savannah recovered something that Sheriff Nanos either couldn't find or chose not to look for. A deleted Wi-Fi handshake. Buried in the NVRAM of Nancy Guthrie's home router. Overwritten. Formatted. Almost gone. Almost. Annie's device. Tommaso's device. Inside that house. During the exact window they claimed to be 14 hours away. The alibi didn't just crack. It collapsed. While her legal team shredded paperwork in air-conditioned offices, Savannah was on the ground. Tactical boots. Moisture-wicking gear. A GPS unit clipped to her vest and a radio crackling on her hip. She wasn't out there looking for a wanderer. She wasn't looking for someone who got lost. She was looking for where someone put something. The team she assembled wasn't county. It wasn't state. It was a private forensic survey unit out of Phoenix, specialists in what the industry calls disturbance archaeology. They don't look for bodies. They look for what the earth remembers. And the desert remembers everything. Their first tool, LiDAR, light detection and ranging. Aerial laser mapping fired at 300,000 pulses per second, stripping away surface vegetation, exposing microtopographical anomalies invisible to the naked eye. What they were hunting for were disturbed soil density signatures, areas where the natural compaction of desert caliche had been fractured and reset. The kind of fractures that happen when something heavy is moved there. Or buried beneath it. Their second tool, GPR, ground-penetrating radar. Electromagnetic pulses driven 12 feet into the earth, reading back the density difference between undisturbed hardpan and organic decomposition signatures. In plain language, the difference between dirt and what's inside the dirt. But it wasn't a body they found first. It was a compression signature. In a dry desert wash, approximately 2.3 miles from the Guthrie property, a section of hardpan bearing the unmistakable impression of a vehicle parked long enough to compact the substrate. The measurements, consistent with a Honda CR-V, the same model registered to Tommaso Sioni. Nanos's team had driven past this wash 4 times during their initial ground search. 4 times. They never stopped. The physical evidence placed them near the scene. The digital evidence placed them in the house. Savannah contracted a private cybersecurity firm, the kind of team that doesn't advertise. The kind that gets called when law enforcement won't do the work or can't be trusted to. Their assignment, a full digital autopsy of Nancy Guthrie's home network infrastructure. This isn't hacking. This is forensic archaeology applied to data. The home router, a standard consumer-grade unit, had been factory reset after Nancy's disappearance. Whoever did it understood that routers log device connections. They understood that this log was evidence. What they didn't understand, or underestimated, was NVRAM. Non-volatile random access memory. The router's persistent storage layer. The part that survives a factory reset. The part that holds ghost data, fragmented, overwritten, but not gone. Not for a firm that knows where to look. At 3:12 a.m., deep inside the 14-hour Alibi window, Annie Guthrie's iPhone 15 Pro transmitted a Keep Alive packet to the home router. A Keep Alive packet. The quiet digital heartbeat a device sends to maintain network association. Automatic. Unconscious. Irrefutable. Her phone was there. Connected. Pinging the network like a confession written in ones and zeros. But it gets worse. Tommaso Sioni's smartwatch, a device he'd conveniently claimed to have left at their apartment, was detected via Bluetooth environmental sweep, its MAC address placing it within 15 feet of the router. 15 feet. That is inside the house. Now cross-reference that with the medical examiner's preliminary finding, which Nanos had quietly buried in a supplemental report, Nancy Guthrie's cardiac pacemaker, a device that logs its own operational data, recorded an anomalous disconnection event at 2:28 a.m. Not a natural cessation. Not a gradual failure. A disconnection. The timeline assembles itself like a verdict. 2:28 a.m., Nancy's pacemaker disconnects. 3:12 a.m., Annie's phone pings the router. They didn't just know what happened. They came back. Whether to retrieve something, to stage something, to ensure something. The investigation is ongoing. But the data doesn't theorize. The data testifies. When evidence is buried inside a system, you don't ask that system to hand it over. You sue it. Savannah filed a FOIA lawsuit against the Pima County Sheriff's Office, targeting a specific piece of evidence that Nanos had refused to release to the family. The unedited 911 call placed at 12:30 p.m. on the day of Nancy's disappearance. The sheriff's office had released a version of this call. A sanitized version. Clipped. Processed. The original CAD, computer-aided dispatch, log told a different story. Embedded in the metadata of the dispatch log, 7 minutes of silence before the call was actually connected to an operator. 7 minutes. In those 7 minutes, nothing recorded, nothing logged, nothing explained. But 7 minutes is enough time to move things. Enough time to position yourself. Enough time to decide what your story is before someone starts writing it down. Forensic audio analysts call it scene staging delay. The pause between what happened and what you need people to think happened. Savannah's legal team called it Exhibit A. Savannah extended a formal invitation to both Annie and Tommaso. A structured interview. Voluntary. Filmed. Accompanied by a certified polygraph examiner and an independent behavioral analyst. They refused. Through their lawyers, they called it a publicity stunt. It wasn't a stunt. It was a behavioral trap. Because refusal is data. Innocent people, in the overwhelming body of criminal behavioral research, are aggressive in their innocence. They want to talk. They want to be believed. They demand to be cleared. Innocence is loud. Guilt is quiet. And what Savannah's behavioral consultants had already identified in the limited public statements Annie and Tommaso had made told a story of its own. Linguistic distancing, the consistent use of third-person language when referring to Nancy. Not my mother. Not mom. Just Nancy. Or the victim. A psychological buffer inserted between the speaker and the person they're grieving or pretending to grieve. Duping delight, the microexpression cataloged across 4 separate video appearances. That involuntary flicker. That fractional upward pull at the corner of the mouth that surfaces when a practiced deceiver believes they've successfully fooled their audience. It lasts less than a quarter second. Cameras caught it every time. They aren't just suspects. They are documented. There is a particular silence that falls over the desert at dusk. Not peaceful. Not beautiful. Waiting. The desert is patient in a way that human beings are not. It does not hurry. It does not forget. It holds what it's been given, and eventually, on its own timeline, in its own way, it gives it back. 11 weeks ago, someone in this case believed they had achieved the impossible. They believed they had outsmarted the earth. They formatted a router and thought they'd erased themselves from a house. They drove a vehicle into a desert wash and thought the sand would keep their secret. They staged a scene, rehearsed their grief, retained their lawyers, and they waited for all of this to go away. It is not going away. Because the cloud doesn't lie. The cloud doesn't get tired. It doesn't take weekends. It doesn't have a sheriff's budget or a political relationship to protect. It simply stores. It simply waits. And everything Annie and Tommaso have done, every call, every transfer, every movement, every device handshake, is archived. We have it. To Sheriff Raymond Nanos. You were handed this evidence 11 weeks ago. The NVRAM extraction. The pacemaker log. The GPR compression signature. The CAD anomaly. You chose silence. You chose the path of least resistance over the path of justice. That path has ended. The FOIA lawsuit is moving through the courts. The unedited 911 recording will be released. Every decision you made, every report you sat on, every lead you deprioritized will be documented, cataloged, and made public. Your excuses are over. And to Annie. And Tommaso. I know you're watching this. People like you always watch. It's part of the compulsion. You need to monitor the investigation, measure how close it's getting, reassure yourselves that you're still ahead of it. You're not. The pings place you in that house. The earth will place you in a cell. Every asset you've liquidated in the past 11 weeks has been logged. Every account movement. Every transfer. Every property query. The financial forensics team doesn't need your cooperation. They never did. You built a perfect alibi out of silence and deleted data. And we excavated it. Nancy Guthrie deserves more than a supplemental report buried in a county filing cabinet. She deserves truth. She deserves justice. And whether it takes another 11 weeks or 11 months, she is going to get it. This is Hunted. We'll see you next week.